She begged a human to save her mother, and he changed the galaxy forever. The acid rain on Vesher Prime fell like melted coins, hissing as it hit the steel streets. The neon lights from thousands of signs bled across the wet ground, turning puddles into rivers of color, red, green, blue, and violet, like a living dream gone wrong. The air smelled of ozone and smoke. Somewhere above, the giant towers of the city blinked with advertising holograms that promised happiness for a price no one could pay. Rowan Cade walked alone, his collar turned up, boots splashing softly through the puddles. He had been hiding here for 6 long months, taking small smuggling jobs, protecting merchants, pretending to be nobody. That was the point. Nobody noticed nobodies. But habits died hard. His mind always scanned the corners. His hands stayed loose and ready. A teacher once trained him to see everything, every flicker of motion, every breath before a strike. And no matter how much he drank or how long he tried to forget, his body never let him. The knife came from behind. Rowan turned before thinking. His hand caught the attacker's wrist, twisted, and the alien crashed face first into a puddle. Steam hissed as acid rain burned through the thief's coat. The creature coughed, trembling. Rowan searched his pockets, found a credit chip, and tossed the body aside. "Try someone easier," he muttered. He kept walking. The rain got worse, heavy and hot. He was thinking about finding shelter when someone slammed into him. Hard. He spun, ready to draw. But what he saw froze him. A woman. Not human. Her skin shimmered like deep ocean water, blue that glowed faintly under the neon lights. Her pink hair clung to her shoulders, drenched and tangled. A torn silk dress hung around her like a flag of surrender. And at her throat, a silver collar. It wasn't jewelry. It was control. A servant's mark. She fell to her knees, gasping. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling and soft, like a song made of fear. "You're human. They say humans help. Please." Rowan stared. "You've got the wrong guy." Her hands grabbed his coat, weak but desperate. "My mother. They took her. Lord Kesrath, he calls it a contract marriage." Her eyes flashed. "But it's slavery. Please, save her." The name Kesrath hit Rowan like a punch. The crime lord ruled half the planet. His men ran everything that moved, smuggling routes, judges, even the police. "You didn't cross Kesrath. You disappeared." Rowan should have walked away. Any sane man would have. But when she looked up at him, eyes bright silver under the lights, rain streaking her face, something in his chest tightened. It wasn't pity. It was instinct. "I can't help you," he said finally. Then the sound came, boots on metal. Fast. Close. Her eyes widened. "They found me." "Of course they did," Rowan muttered. "Come on." He grabbed her hand and pulled her down the alley. Pulse fire flashed blue against the walls. They ran between narrow pipes and glowing signs, her bare feet splashing through puddles. "What's your name?" he shouted. "Lyriel." "Well, Lyriel, keep up or you'll die." They burst onto the main street, where traffic hissed and screamed. A plasma bolt exploded behind them, throwing steam into the air. Rowan ducked, dragged her behind a food stall. The alien vendor shouted something furious as his wares caught fire. Another shot sliced through the rain. "Stay low," Rowan said, pulling out a pistol, an old, ugly human slug thrower. The kind that worked even when everything else didn't. "What are you doing?" she cried. "Buying time." He fired 2 rounds into the streetlight, sending it crashing into the path of their pursuers. "Now run." They sprinted across the road. A hover bike idled near the curb, its owner arguing with a vendor. Rowan didn't hesitate. He shoved the man aside and jumped on. "Get on." "That's stealing," she shouted. "That's surviving," he said, gunning the engine. The bike shot forward, weaving through traffic. Rain hit like needles. Lyriel held on to him, arms tight around his waist, face pressed to his back. Her breath was warm even through the cold rain. Behind them, the alley flashed with light as Kesrath's hunters fired blindly. They flew through the lower levels of the city, past flickering signs and steaming vents, until they reached a tunnel lit by emergency lights. Rowan killed the engine. Silence at last. Only the slow drip of acid rained through the vents. Lyriel slid off, shaking. Her eyes darted in every direction. "I've been running for hours," she whispered. "You can stop now," Rowan said. "You're safe here. For the moment." She looked at him like she wasn't sure if she should believe it. "You didn't have to help me." I didn't plan to, he said. She smiled weakly. Then why did you? Rowan didn't answer. He just checked his weapon, listening to the echoing hum of the tunnels. The silence between them was heavy. Rainwater dripped from his hair, ran down his face. Because you asked, he said finally. Her eyes softened. Then you're already different from them. Rowan didn't reply. Somewhere above them, thunder rolled. Not natural thunder, but the sound of machines fighting the poisoned sky. He looked at her, at the collar around her neck, and at the fear she tried to hide. Something about her reminded him of an old lesson, one his master had once spoken before everything fell apart. Strength isn't about what you can destroy. It's about what you choose to protect. Rowan took a deep breath. All right, Lyriel, he said. Tell me everything. From the start. And in the dripping dark of the tunnel, as rain echoed like falling coins, the story of how one human changed the fate of a world began. The storm outside hadn't stopped. It only grew darker. The tunnels of Vesher Prime whispered with old machinery, dripping pipes, and echoes that didn't belong to either of them. Rowan led Lyriel through a maze of shadows, his eyes scanning every corner like a soldier who could never forget the battlefield. She walked barefoot, shivering, her blue skin glimmering in the faint red lights of the maintenance corridor. The silver collar around her neck sparked once, a warning pulse that made her gasp. Rowan turned sharply, eyes narrowing. It's tracking you, he said. I know, she whispered. Kesrath uses the collars to monitor all his property. The word property hit him wrong. He crouched, studied the small glowing node on the side of the device. These circuits are older tech. I can disable it, but not here. Too many scanners. So where are we going? He smirked without humor. Someplace loud, dirty, and full of people who mind their own business. They exited the tunnels through a half-broken gate, stepping into the lower district, a sprawl of glowing signs, smoke, and shouting traders. The air tasted of oil and desperation. A street preacher screamed about the end of all worlds while drones zipped overhead like mechanical insects. Lyriel kept close, eyes wide, trying to make sense of the chaos. To humans, Vesher was hell. To everyone else, it was opportunity. Rowan led her into an old tower that leaned slightly, covered in graffiti written in 10 alien languages. Inside, a narrow staircase spiraled upward into dim light. My place, he said, unlocking the metal door at the top. Don't expect much. The room smelled of metal and cheap whiskey. A bed folded into the wall. A desk covered in broken devices. A holomap glowed in one corner, showing a dozen red marks across the city. Safe houses, escape tunnels, names he'd memorized and never said aloud. Lyriel stepped inside carefully, dripping water on the floor. Her collar sparked again, faintly. She touched it, wincing. Will it hurt me again? Not if I can help it. Rowan grabbed his tools, knelt beside her, and began to work. His fingers were quick, sure. The man moved like someone who'd done this before, breaking control tech, disabling trackers, cutting chains that others called unbreakable. The collar clicked once. Then the light died. Lyriel blinked, touching her neck as if she didn't believe it. It's off. Rowan nodded. Free for now. She exhaled shakily, her entire body trembling. Thank you, she whispered. He shrugged. Don't thank me yet. Kesrath will notice it's offline soon. We just started a countdown. She looked at him, eyes glowing faint violet in the half-dark. You could have left me in the street. Yeah, Rowan said quietly. I should have. She stepped closer, studying him. You don't like being called a hero, do you? I'm not one. Then what are you? He didn't answer. His gaze drifted toward the window, where rain streaked down the glass like tears. Someone trying not to remember, he said at last. The silence between them grew heavy. Lyriel finally broke it. My mother, Saran. She was a judge before Kesrath took over. She believed in laws, in justice. She refused to sign his trade decrees. That's why he punished her. How long ago? 3 weeks. He's keeping her in his crystal fortress on the East Ridge. They say it's beautiful. Her tone turned bitter. Beautiful and impossible to break into. Rowan turned, his mind already working. Every fortress has a door, he said. Even if you have to carve it yourself. Lyriel gave a faint, desperate laugh. And you can do that alone? No, he said. But I've done worse. She looked at him, really looked. Why are you helping me? Because I hate collars, he said simply. Any kind. The words hung between them. She took a small step closer. The dim light caught the curve of her face, the faint shimmer of her wet hair. "You could walk away now," she said softly. "No one would blame you." He met her gaze. "Yeah, but I'd blame myself." For a long moment, they just stood there, two runaways from different worlds, bound by accident and something neither could name. The hum of the city filled the silence, mixing with the sound of distant thunder. Then, without warning, the building shook. A deep rumble echoed from the streets below. Rowan rushed to the window. A convoy of dark armored transports roared down the avenue, spraying water and smoke. Kesrath's sigil glowed red on their sides. "He found us," Rowan said. Lyriel's voice shook. "How?" "The collar," he said. "Even offline, it left a ping." He grabbed his bag and sidearm. "Time to move again." She looked at him, trembling but standing tall. "If we're caught." "We won't be," he cut her off. "You wanted a hero, Lyriel? You got me instead." They burst out into the storm once more, lights flashing around them, sirens wailing in the distance. Rain poured harder than before, washing neon blood down the streets. Somewhere above, a patrol drone turned its eye toward them. Rowan raised his hood. "Stay close," he said. "Tonight, we disappear." And as they vanished into the chaos of Vesher Prime, the rain swallowed their tracks, erasing two souls who had just become ghosts in a city that had no mercy left to give. The next morning came with a sky the color of rust and fire. Vesher Prime never truly slept, it just dimmed. The rain stopped, but the air still hissed with leftover acid, eating the edges of signs and corroding metal beams. The city's towers gleamed like knives in a dying sun. Rowan and Lyriel moved through the underbelly of the city, where walls sweated steam and the floor vibrated from endless engines. The stolen ID chips blinked faintly on their wrists. Each one forged, each one a lie. "Are you sure these will work?" Lyriel whispered, her voice muffled behind a dusty scarf. "No," Rowan said, "but I've survived worse odds." Their goal rose above the horizon, Kesrath's crystal fortress. It shimmered like a mountain made of light. Each spire curved upward, catching the sixth sunlight in mirrored glass. Shields rippled across its surface like water. It was less a building and more a statement. "You can't touch me." Lyriel's hands trembled. "She's in there," she said softly. "My mother." Rowan glanced at her. Her eyes carried that strange mix, fear and fury. The same look soldiers wore before the first shot. He'd seen it 1,000 times. "Then we go in," he said. "But we go in smart." He adjusted his gear, a half-broken pistol, a pocket EMP, and a blade forged from scavenged ship plating. He wore armor disguised as street leather. Lyriel wore silks and gold chains, disguising herself as one of Kesrath's noble guests. Together, they walked toward the fortress gates. A pair of Rexian guards blocked their way. Reptilian, 7 feet tall, armor gleaming black. "Names," one hissed. Lyriel lowered her eyes gracefully. "Lady Vera of House Silver Tide," she said in the smooth, musical accent of the higher rings. "And this is my champion, Rowan of Earth." The guard scanned them with a glowing rod. Rowan's pulse raced. The false ID chip beeped once, then turned green. The guard snorted. "Earth," he said. "Didn't know your kind still existed." "Barely," Rowan muttered. They were waved through. Inside, the palace was another world, a trap of beauty. Floors of obsidian reflected them like mirrors. Ceilings shimmered with constellations that shifted slowly, real-time star maps of conquered systems. The air smelled of sweet spice and static power. Lyriel's breath caught. "They call it beautiful," she said. "But all I see are the stolen worlds inside it." "Good," Rowan said quietly. "Hold on to that anger. It'll keep you alive." They walked through a long corridor toward the Great Hall. Everywhere, alien nobles watched from balconies, eyes cold, curious, amused. Whispers followed the human and the blue-skinned woman. Humans were rare here, almost extinct beyond trade routes. Then, the crowd parted. A sound rolled through the hall, laughter, deep and smooth as oil. Lord Kesrath sat on a throne of living crystal. His skin was dark bronze, veins glowing faintly gold. For eyes blinked independently. For arms moved in constant, lazy motion, signing documents, waving servants, feeding himself grapes that pulsed faintly like heartbeats. Rowan's hand itched for his gun. Next to Kesrath, chained in silver, sat Saran, Lyriel's mother. Even in captivity, She carried herself like a queen. Her hair was silver white, falling in smooth waves. Her eyes were sharp and unbroken. The chains that bound her looked delicate, almost decorative, but Rowan could see the faint scorch marks around her wrists. They weren't for show. Lyriel gasped. Rowan caught her wrist before she stepped forward. Not yet, he whispered. Wait. Kesrath's gaze turned toward them. A new guest, he said. A noble of Thesseria, and a human fighter. His lips curled into something that pretended to be a smile. How rare. Rowan bowed slightly, forcing a calm face. Your lordship, he said. We bring an offering, service for sanctuary. Kesrath's laughter shook the room. Sanctuary? No one comes here for that. But I enjoy entertainment. Tell me, Earthman, do you fight? If paid, Rowan said evenly. The alien lord clapped his hands. Good. Then you shall fight in my arena tomorrow. If you win, you may earn a place among my guards. Rowan's jaw tightened. And if I lose? Kesrath grinned, showing too many teeth. Then you become fertilizer for my gardens. Lyriel lowered her head, masking her fury. My champion accepts. Kesrath's laughter echoed like thunder. Splendid. Guards, give them quarters. Feed them. Tomorrow, let us see what a human is worth. As they were led away, Saran's eyes found them. For a moment, the proud mask cracked, and the look that passed between mother and daughter carried 1,000 unsaid words. That night, in the small guest quarters near the training pits, Lyriel couldn't sit still. She paced the room, fists clenched. He'll kill you, she said. That thing in the arena, his champion, it's not alive anymore. It's a monster. Rowan sat on the edge of the bed, cleaning his gun. Good, he said. Monsters bleed like everyone else. She stared at him. You talk like this is easy. It's not, he said. But I've fought worse than him. The trick isn't strength, it's knowing where to hit. She came closer, her anger melting into fear. And if you die? Rowan looked up, his eyes calm. Then make sure it matters. Silence filled the room again. The hum of the fortress systems buzzed faintly through the walls. Then, quietly, Lyriel said, she saw me. My mother. She knows I'm here. Rowan nodded. Then she's already part of the plan. Lyriel frowned. What plan? He gave her a small, dangerous smile. The kind that makes tyrants regret waking up. Outside, thunder rolled again, not from weather, but from the arena below, where something massive was already waiting for the next day. And above it all, the palace lights shone bright and cruel, like stars trapped in glass, unaware that by morning, one human would shatter them all. Morning broke like a blade through smoke. The twin suns of Vesher Prime rose weak and sickly, turning the city sky into a dull copper haze. From the upper towers of Kesrath's fortress, the arena roared to life, a metal coliseum built for cruelty. The crowd's voice sounded like thunder wrapped in greed. Rowan stood behind the iron gate, rolling his shoulders. His armor was stripped down to nothing but hardened leather and instinct. The air was thick with the scent of fuel and blood. He could hear the growl of engines, the hiss of hydraulics, the clatter of thousands of alien tongues chanting for violence. He'd been here before, not this arena, but this feeling, the waiting before the storm. The moment when your body knows it might die but doesn't care yet. His master once told him that battle wasn't about courage. It was about control, of fear, of movement, of time itself. Rowan inhaled slowly. Control. The gate opened. Light hit him like fire. The arena stretched out before him, a wide pit of rusted sand and jagged debris, surrounded by tiers of alien spectators. Above them, glowing banners shimmered with Kesrath's sigil, for interlocking claws around a burning star. The announcer's voice boomed through hidden speakers. Citizens of Vesher Prime, today we witness the test of the human, a creature from a forgotten world, against our champion, the brooder of the Forge Pits. The opposite gate opened. Something stepped out. It was huge, at least 8 feet tall, skin black and red like cooling lava. Metal fused into its flesh. For arms, each ending in something that wasn't quite a hand anymore, blades, claws, and steel. Its face was a mask of jagged bone, its eyes glowing molten orange. The crowd screamed its name. Brooder, brooder, brooder. Rowan exhaled once. Big guy, he muttered. Good. Easier to hit. From the royal balcony, Kesrath leaned forward, all 4 eyes gleaming. Beside him sat Saran, still bound, her expression unreadable. Lyriel stood in the shadows behind the guards, trembling but unbroken. The gong rang. The brooder charged. It moved faster than any creature that size should. The sand erupted beneath its feet. Rowan dodged left, barely. The air where he'd been standing exploded as the creature's lower blades slashed through it. Sparks filled the air. The crowd roared. Rowan rolled, came up on one knee, fired a shot, one clean bullet to the chest. The slug hit armor, ricocheted off harmlessly. Figures, he muttered. The brute swung again. Rowan ducked, feeling the wind of the blades slice his hair. He countered, fast, driving a punch into the creature's ribs. It felt like hitting a wall. His knuckles split open, but he saw the creature flinch. Pain, he whispered. Good. You can feel it. The brooder's eyes glowed hotter. It bellowed and grabbed Rowan by the throat, lifting him off the ground. The world dimmed around him. He clawed at the arm, feet kicking in the air. His vision blurred, then sharpened. Through the roar, he heard a voice. Not from outside. From memory. Pain is your reminder that you're still alive, boy. Now use it. The master's voice. Rowan twisted, planted both feet against the brute's chest, and kicked. Not away, but up. He slammed his boot into the creature's chin with enough force to dislocate its jaw. The grip loosened. Rowan dropped, landed, and drove his elbow into its knee joint. A crack echoed. The brooder stumbled. The crowd gasped. Kesrath leaned forward. Interesting. Saran whispered something to him, too low for anyone to hear. But her eyes never left Rowan. The brooder roared, spinning its top arms into a whirlwind of blades. One struck Rowan's side, tearing his armor. Pain flared white-hot. He staggered, bleeding. Lyriel screamed his name. Rowan looked up, face pale, blood on his teeth. He smiled. You'll have to do better than that. He moved differently now. Smoother. Sharper. The lazy drifter's stance was gone, replaced by precision. He ducked under another swing, drove a knee into the creature's gut, spun, and slammed his palm against its chest. The brooder lunged, but Rowan was already behind it. He kicked its legs out, grabbed a shard of metal from the sand, and jammed it into the base of its neck. Sparks erupted. The creature froze, shuddered, and fell to one knee. Rowan stood over it, chest heaving. Yield, he said. The brooder growled. Never. Rowan slammed his fist down on its throat, crushing the voice out of it. Then sleep. The creature collapsed. Silence. The arena went dead quiet. Then came the sound, slow, uncertain, building, applause. Whispers. The word human spreading like wildfire. Kesrath's smile vanished. He rose from his throne, for eyes locked on Rowan. Finish it, he ordered. Kill the beast, and earn your place. Rowan looked up at him. Blood ran down his arm, his chest. He raised his head, met Kesrath's gaze, and said one clear sentence. No one here owns me. Gasps rippled through the stands. Saran closed her eyes, a faint smile ghosting across her lips. Lyriel's tears mixed with joy and terror. Rowan turned his back on the fallen brooder and started walking toward the gate. Guards hesitated, confused. The crowd began to chant again, not brooder this time. A new word. Human. Kesrath's fury was instant. Kill him. Kill them all. Chaos exploded. Guards poured into the arena. But something else ignited too, the crowd. Slaves, workers, soldiers, all who had seen a man defy a lord, started shouting, throwing debris, breaking barriers. The rebellion began in that heartbeat. Rowan raised his pistol, eyes hard. Guess we're doing this the loud way, he said, and fired the first shot of a war that would turn the empire upside down. Smoke rose from the heart of Kesrath's fortress like a new dawn made of fire. The crowd had become a storm, roaring, wild, uncontrollable. The arena that once sang with bloodlust now burned with rebellion. Rowan stood at its center, breathing hard. The fallen brooder twitched once, then went still. Around him, guards shouted orders, weapons flaring with blue plasma. The air was a war of light and noise. He looked up toward the royal balcony. Kesrath stood there, fury painted across all four of his eyes. Beside him, Saran, still chained, met Rowan's gaze. No words were spoken, but a plan passed between them in silence. Rowan moved first. He sprinted across the sand, grabbed a fallen guard's pulse rifle, and fired at the tower's support struts. The weapon howled, cutting through steel and sending a section of the balcony crashing down. The crowd screamed, not in fear this time, but in power. "Get him!" Kesrath roared. Too late. Rowan was already moving, climbing the shattered pillars like a soldier born in gravity's defiance. He reached the service ledge, ducking plasma fire, and pulled himself into the corridor beyond. Lyriel met him halfway, a shock baton stolen from a guard in her hand, eyes wild and bright. "I told you not to die," she shouted. "I'm working on it," he replied. They ran together through the fortress corridors. Around them, chaos bloomed. Servants turned on their masters. Prisoners broke free from their collars. Smoke filled the air, carrying the sweet and bitter scent of revolution. A voice crackled through the loudspeakers. "Kesrathis. Seal the exits. Kill every slave that moves. Bring me the human's head." "Friendly place," Rowan muttered. Lyriel grabbed his arm, pulling him toward a side hall. "My mother's chamber. This way." They burst through a security gate, finding 2 guards stationed outside a crystalline door. Rowan didn't slow down. He hit the first one like a hammer, grabbed his weapon, and used it to blast the second into the wall. The door hissed open. Inside, Saran waited, still bound by her chains, but standing tall, regal even in ruin. "Mother!" Lyriel ran to her, tears burning down her cheeks. Saran smiled faintly. "You shouldn't have come. You think I'd leave you here?" Lyriel shot back. Rowan was already scanning the ceiling. "That reunion will have to wait," he said. "We've got company." Outside, boots thundered closer, a full squad by the sound. Saran turned, tugging her chains. "These are linked to Kesrath's core systems. Break them, and you'll trigger every alarm in the city," Rowan finished. "Perfect." He raised the pulse rifle and fired at the wall control node. Sparks erupted. The chains fell, clattering to the floor. The fortress groaned, metal screaming like it was alive. Lights dimmed, then turned crimson. "Security breach detected," the system announced. "Containment failure in sectors 3 through 9. Saran smiled. "You just broke his palace in half." "Yeah," Rowan said, slinging the rifle. "Let's finish the job." They moved fast, weaving through fire and falling debris. The fortress shuddered as explosions echoed through its corridors. Kesrath's voice still bellowed through the speakers, but it was thinner now, desperate. Rowan kicked open a maintenance hatch leading to the lower docks. Wind and rain slammed into them. The storm outside had returned, furious and alive. Below them waited a fleet of Kesrath's ships, sleek and silver. Most regarded. One wasn't, a smaller personal cruiser glowing with gold trim. Rowan grinned. "That'll do." Lyriel hesitated. "You can fly that. I can make it crash in the right direction." Behind them, soldiers poured onto the balcony, plasma bolts slicing through the rain. Saran grabbed a guard's sword from the floor and deflected one shot with impossible precision. For a woman who'd spent weeks in chains, she moved like she'd been waiting for this moment all her life. "Move!" Rowan shouted. They sprinted down the catwalk, fire raining from the sky. A plasma round hit the walkway behind them, tearing it apart. Lyriel stumbled. Rowan caught her wrist, pulling her forward. "Not today," he said. They reached the cruiser. Rowan slammed his hand against the access panel. It beeped once, denied. He cursed, ripped the panel off, and crossed the wires with his knife. The door slid open just as Kesrath appeared at the far end of the dock. His armor shimmered gold. For eyes burning. For arms raised, each holding a weapon. "You think you can steal from me, human?" Kesrath roared. "I made this world." Rowan raised his pistol, eyes cold. "Then watch it burn." He fired. The shot hit the fuel conduit beside Kesrath. The explosion was instant. Blue flame engulfed the dock, throwing the alien lord backward into the storm. Rowan shoved Lyriel and Saran inside the ship and jumped into the pilot's seat. "Hang on!" Engine screamed. The cruiser lifted off, tearing through smoke and lightning. As they broke through the clouds, Vesher Prime burned below them, a sea of fire and chaos. Lyriel leaned against him, trembling. "You did it," she whispered. "You actually did it." He looked out the viewport, at the burning city that had tried to bury him. "No," he said quietly. "We did." Saran turned from the back seat, her silver hair glowing in the emergency lights. "You understand what you've started, human?" she asked softly. Rowan nodded. "Yeah. A problem Kesrath won't be around to fix." The cruiser cut through the clouds, engines glowing like twin stars. Behind them, the fortress collapsed, falling into the toxic sea below. And as the fire faded behind them, the first real sunrise in years touched Vesher Prime, not with peace, but with something stronger. Hope. The stars stretched like rivers of light across the black. For the first time in years, Rowan Cade flew without being chased. The stolen cruiser hummed through the void, its silver hull still scorched from battle, its engines whispering like tired hearts. Vesher Prime burned behind them, a dying world devouring its master. Ahead lay only silence, dust, and endless space. In the cockpit, Rowan stared at the faint blue arc of a distant planet, one unmarked on any official chart. Its atmosphere shimmered with pale gold rings. New Eden, he said quietly, has a nice ring to it. Lyriel sat beside him, eyes reflecting the starlight. You're naming planets now? Someone has to, he replied. And it beats calling it somewhere not exploding. She smiled faintly, exhaustion hiding behind her beauty. You really think we can live there? I think we'll die anywhere else. Behind them, the cargo bay was crowded with survivors, former slaves, guards who'd switched sides, and refugees from half a dozen worlds. Saran walked among them, no longer in chains. Her presence steadied the restless. Every whisper of panic softened when she passed. She stopped at the cockpit doorway. It's habitable, she said, reading the scanner's display. Oxygen, gravity, temperature. Everything we need. Everything except peace, Rowan said. Peace isn't given, Saran replied. It's built, brick by stubborn brick. The ship descended through golden clouds. Lightning danced across the wings. Beneath them, a world of green valleys and crystal rivers unfolded, untouched, unclaimed. When they landed, the engines hissed in protest, and the silence that followed felt like a prayer. Lyriel stepped onto the soil first. Her bare feet sank into cool earth. She stared at the horizon as wind brushed through her pink hair. It smells clean, she whispered. Rowan followed, his boots crunching softly. That's how freedom smells, he said. Weird, right? Saran came last, holding the flag of Kesratha's empire. She tore it in half and let the pieces scatter in the breeze. No more masters, she said. No more collars. For days, they built shelters from scrap metal and broken dreams. The survivors learned to farm, to dig wells, to sleep without fear. Rowan fixed the ship's engines into power generators. Lyriel led the children in laughter again. Saran drafted laws, simple, fair, and human. They called the settlement New Eden, though half the people there had never seen Earth. To them, it was more than a name, it was a promise. At night, the campfires glowed under alien stars. Music returned, rough, improvised, beautiful. For the first time, Rowan allowed himself to laugh. You're smiling, Lyriel said one night, leaning against him as they watched the fires. Must be a malfunction, he said. She nudged him gently. You've done more than you admit. You didn't just save us, you gave us something to believe in. He shook his head. I didn't give you anything. You already had it. You just needed a chance. Her hand brushed his. And you gave it. They sat in silence, watching sparks rise toward the sky. The soft hum of generators mixed with distant laughter. It didn't sound like war anymore. It sounded like life beginning again. But peace never lasted long in Rowan's world. The next morning, the scanners caught a faint signal, a coded pulse from deep space. Saran decrypted it. A transmission flickered onto the comm screen, the emblem of the Vesher Trade Alliance, the remains of Kesratha's allies. They know we're alive, Saran said. And they're coming. Lyriel looked at Rowan. What do we do? Rowan stared at the horizon. The same expression he'd worn in every impossible moment. Calm, defiant, quietly dangerous. We build faster, he said. And we prepare. He walked to the center of camp, stood on a broken crate, and looked out at the faces, human and alien, young and old. You all know what's coming, he said, voice carrying across the wind. They'll call us thieves, traitors, criminals. Maybe they're right. But we're free. And no empire takes that back. The crowd erupted, a wave of cheers and fists raised to the sky. The sound wasn't of fear. It was of a people who had already decided they'd rather die standing than live kneeling. That night, Lyriel stood at the edge of the camp, looking up at the stars. Rowan joined her, quiet for a long time. They'll come for us, she said. Yeah, he said. Let them. She turned to him. You'd fight again? He smiled faintly. I didn't come this far just to run. Lyriel took his hand, her voice soft but steady. Then we fight together. He squeezed her hand gently. Always. Above them, the stars shimmered, strange constellations on a strange world. But in those lights, Rowan saw something familiar. Humanity's endless defiance. New Eden slept beneath twin moons, and for a brief, fragile moment, peace dared to exist. But somewhere in the dark, between worlds, a signal pulsed, a hunter's beacon. And far beyond the horizon, the galaxy had just begun to whisper the name of the human who started it all. Rowan Cade, the liberator of New Eden. Night draped itself over New Eden like a velvet shroud. The colony slept in soft pools of firelight, unaware that destiny was walking toward its gates. The air smelled of rain and wildflowers, strange, delicate scents that didn't belong to a world built by war. Rowan Cade stood on the balcony of the half-built governor's hall, staring at the twin moons above. The wind tugged at his jacket, carrying the distant hum of generators and laughter. Lyriel's voice drifted faintly from inside, soothing a group of children with stories of the human who broke the chains. He smiled at that. He didn't feel like a hero. Heroes slept. He hadn't in 3 days. Saran approached quietly, her silver hair glinting under the moonlight. "You should rest, Governor," she said, her tone half jest, half command. He shook his head. "Every time I close my eyes, I see Kesrath's city burning. I can't tell if I stopped something evil or started something worse." "You started something necessary," she said softly. "Freedom isn't clean, Rowan. It never has been." Before he could answer, the comm tower crackled. "Sir," a voice said. "Unidentified ship approaching from the outer orbit. No registration, no response to hails." Rowan's jaw tightened. "Sound alert level 2. No panic, just eyes open." Minutes later, the ship appeared in the sky, small, sleek, moving like it knew exactly where to go. It touched down outside the settlement, silent except for the whisper of cooling metal. Lyriel appeared beside him. "Who is it?" "I don't know," Rowan said. "But whoever they are, they didn't come to trade." They walked together toward the gate. The wind picked up, stirring the grass, carrying the scent of ozone. The ship's hatch hissed open. A figure stepped out. Cloaked. Graceful. Familiar. Rowan's blood went cold. "Hello, boyo." The voice was a blade of memory. Soft. Deadly. The Irish lilt from a past he'd buried. The red hair glowed like fire in the moonlight. Her eyes, green as emerald glass, watched him with the calm of a predator who'd already won. "Master," he said quietly. "You're dead." She smiled. "You keep saying that about people who don't stay that way." Lyriel's hand went to her weapon. Rowan raised a hand. "Don't," he said. "She's not here to fight. Not yet." The master walked closer, boots crunching against the dirt. She stopped just short of him, studying his face like an artist admiring her work. "You've grown," she murmured. "I almost don't recognize you." "You taught me to disappear," Rowan said. "And you've done a spectacular job," she replied. "Whole planet, new laws, a cult of freedom around your name. My little student became a revolutionary." He met her gaze. "Why are you here?" "To deliver a gift," she said, holding out a small case. "Diplomatic credentials. From Earth. Real ones this time. Seems your rebellion caught the Council's attention. They're offering recognition, and maybe control." Rowan didn't take it. "There's always a price." Her smile widened. "You learn so well. The price is what it's always been, me watching." Lyriel stepped forward. "He doesn't need you." The master turned her head, eyes flicking to Lyriel with interest. "Ah, the blue one. I smelled your kind before the ramp came down. Copper-based blood. Courage in the veins. You're the reason he fights softer than he used to." Lyriel didn't back away. "He fights smarter." The master's laughter was soft, melodic, and wrong. "Smart doesn't win wars. Ruthless does." Rowan exhaled. "This isn't a war. Not anymore." "Oh, Rowan," she said, stepping closer until the air between them crackled. "It's always a war. You just built a quieter battlefield." For a long time, no one spoke. Only the sound of wind and faraway waves. Then the master set the case on the ground. "You'll open it when you're ready. Inside, you'll find everything you need to make this place real, or to destroy it." She turned, cloak swirling like smoke. "Why now?" Rowan asked. "Why come back after all this time?" Her steps paused. Without turning, she said, "Because the galaxy is watching you, boyo." Empires whisper your name. They think humans are rising again. I came to see if they're right, or if I need to correct my mistake. Then she looked back over her shoulder, a faint smile curling her lips. And because I missed you. She walked back to her ship. The hatch closed with a hiss, and the vessel rose, vanishing into the clouds without another word. For a long moment, Rowan stood there, unmoving. Lyriel touched his arm gently. You okay? He looked at the stars, his reflection shimmering faintly in her silver eyes. No, he said, but I will be. Saran joined them, glancing at the abandoned case. What's inside? Rowan stared at it. Choices. He bent, picked it up, and carried it back toward the hall. Behind him, the colony lights glowed warm and alive, fragile but real. Lyriel called after him. So what now? He stopped, turned, and smiled. That same tired, stubborn, human smile. Now, he said, we build something worth bleeding for. Above them, the stars pulsed once, faint, distant, eternal. And somewhere out there, in the darkness between galaxies, the master's ship turned toward the void, whispering into the cold. My beautiful, dangerous boy, let's see what empires you'll build, and which ones you'll burn. The screen fades to black. End of Save My Mother, the human who changed the galaxy.